really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
Woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Eric Butler, TatumReport.com. How are you, good sir?
Yeah, doing good, man. It feels good. Back on my channel. Back live on my channel too. So
that's right. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh yeah. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving. Even though
why do you have such a problem with this?
Well, because Thanksgiving is in November. It's at the end of November. So I don't know. You guys are calling it Thanksgiving, but maybe you should call it something else.
Maybe we just have a different history than you, okay? Ours is much less violent. We pretend anyways.
Do you guys have Black Friday like tomorrow? Black Monday? No.
Cyber Monday?
Cyber. I don't know. Whatever.
No, when my family came here 300 years ago, not kidding. First, we got along with the natives and then got them to fight the Americans with us. And then we killed a lot of them. And here we are today. And we thank everybody for that. Right, thank you for your giving, everybody. Good history lesson of the Chapados name. Look it up. One of 3 families to come over here. So I'm basically the owner of this country. We've got a lot of trans stuff, Eric. We've got guns today. We've got, what else do we got? Jon Stewart. A lot of trans stuff.
Which is basically trans stuff.
And
I mean, we can talk. We can go immigration too if you want, because it's not looking good in New York. New York is now a border city, so good for them.
Yeah, and their state of emergency. They're worried. We didn't ask for this, you crazy people. What's wrong with you? So I discovered earlier today, we were setting up the internet in here again, and it turns out that I don't know how it is in every other country where people are watching, probably like Canada, US, Australia, UK, maybe. UOPod.com. You're listening on Spotify and Apple, and you're watching on YouTube and Twitter and Getter, best podcast on Getter. But in those countries, I assume you can also get internet through your cable, correct?
Oh yeah, of course. You forgot to shout out the Twitch viewers, so I just wanted to
Twitch viewer. We did get a new subscriber last week on Twitch, so shout out to that person. He, they, him, or her. And so I plug in the router, and I'm like, okay, it's going to take a couple minutes to connect. It's not connecting. I don't know why. I guess this is just a bum outlet. A little bit of investigation led to the fact that it's a fake cable outlet. It's not connected to anything. There's just a hole in a wall behind it, and it's just a cable connector put in there for some reason to look like it's doing something. So I've ordered the 50-foot cable, Ethernet cable. I live down the street from an Amazon facility, so it'll be here tomorrow. Which is another story, I guess. I should go do some investigative journalism on Amazon down the street.
They don't have a...
That really...
Wait, I'm sorry. Go say that again?
I was going to say, they probably have a lot of cameras. They probably operate the traffic lights that's there.
Okay. I was just going to say, is there not just like... I mean, if the Amazon warehouse or whatever is right next to you, I mean, wouldn't it just be as simple to go to Best Buy? And it's just, is there a Best Buy nearby? No?
That's true. I didn't think about that. It's not too close.
All right. Well, because that's where I got mine. I have dude, I'm not even joking. I think I was at Best Buy and I thought, 50 feet might not be enough. So I think I went with the 75-footer, and now I have all this extra Ethernet cord wound up behind my TV.
In my stupid mind, I was like, the outlet is real, so I can just wait an hour before we go on air to do this. But I don't know. Should I have expected...
No, I don't think you. I mean, I'm definitely prepared to hand you an L whenever you deserve it.
Oh, thank you.
But I don't think anybody could have seen that coming. And yeah, that would probably that might deserve an all caps email to the landlord. Just saying. I don't know.
Thank you. I try not. My approach to these things is communicate as little as possible because I've had some annoying landlords. Let's see if we can hear from Dwayne Wade.
Wait, so before you leave us this morning, all of us, well, a lot of us, people like
we can't.
me, we admire, we follow you on Instagram, we follow Gabrielle, we follow your
Gabrielle?
family. You guys have been such trailblazers for acceptance and what have you. And I noticed the other day, people were talking about the fact that you turned off the comments for Zaya, for your 15-year-old.
Yes.
I have to be honest with you. My kids are on social and I cringe sometimes and I worry about their hearts. And I never even thought of doing that. What made you decide to say, you know what, you can be on it, but I'm going to protect you a little bit?
Yeah, well, we have a 20-year-old in Zaire who went through it a few years before Zaya of jumping on social media. And all the negativity that comes with social
Careful
media.
avoidance of using he or she
we went through it
here.
once, and we saw how it affected him.
Yeah.
And so once we got to Zaya, which is a whole different conversation that's going on in the world, and it's way uglier. You know, Zaire's conversation was about sports. Zaya's is about what a lot of people don't even really understand and get. And so we sat down with Zaya about being on social media, her, my wife and I, and we just talked about we want to make sure that if she's going to be on social media, she's going to show people some of her life, it's going to be the people that she wants to, that's in her circle. Right? Everybody on the outside, that noise on the outside really don't matter. What matters is the voices that you allow in your circle. And so that's the people that we wanted to follow her journey and follow her life. And so that's what we did. And we left the hate out of it. It's enough of that in the world. She gets enough of it. We didn't want it to be, you know, under her comments so she can read it. And we know what we are in this world. You know, mental health is a very, you know, this is an important topic in this world. It's very important for us as parents to protect the health of our kids, both physically and mentally. And so we wanted to do.
Is that right?
I'd like to go first here, Eric, if I may.
I don't like being on this side. Yeah, there we go.
You can only make moves from the other side. The guise of mental health that is being used here, even though I admit very willingly that Dwayne Wade's child probably has some issues, clearly, but under the guise of protecting one's mental health, he is using the very progressive definition of, if you are disagreeing with me or if you have a problem with my life, then therefore you are affecting my mental health. You cannot criticize me. So what has he done? He's turned off all criticism for his child, who was born a boy. And as you can see, it's very athletic, as he's the son of probably an NBA Hall of Famer who's got 2 rings, maybe 3, I think. And they're using this as a shield to say, you know, our older son had to go through with athletics. Did they turn off his comments? I don't know. I think a kid who's an athlete who's going to be booed and had things yelled at him in the stands in college, and people throw things at him if he goes to the NBA, and maybe fans try to fight him if he goes to the NBA, that he should be able to handle.
Teammates try to fight him.
Maybe. And then you have another child who's, you know, we say not literally he sacrificed his child in the spotlight. Nobody was asking. Dwayne Wade was not hosting any shows. He was not on, you know, of course he was on sometimes, but he's not on, you know, NBA on TNT. He's not a big broadcasting name after, like, obviously he was a good player. Nobody's going to doubt that. Couldn't win without help from Shaq or LeBron. Well, that's a different story. But nobody was saying like, hey, I really want to hear what Dwayne Wade says, like they want to hear what Tracy McGrady says, like they want to hear what Scottie Pippen and Shaq and all these guys say. Nobody was clamoring for that. Nobody said, let's get him on like they did for JJ Redick. JJ Redick's the guy that people really wanted on. Huge podcast now. Dwayne Wade, in a way, we feel sort of sacrificed his privacy and his child's privacy and his child's mental state for this. Because what happens as soon as your child comes out as trans, he's on Snapchat stories. He's got his own show with his family. He's on shows like Good Morning America. When was the last time a retired NBA player was on talking about anything other than sports on Good Morning America or Good Day Today, whatever the hell it's called? The answer is very rarely. I can't think of any off the top of my head. So to use this guise now is I've launched us into the spotlight. I've launched my kid into the spotlight by publicizing their gender problems. But now you can't criticize it. The comments have to be off. And I get it's a kid, but it's also a kid who's lived probably their whole life on the internet more than you or I ever did growing up in a different way. But we were forced to, you know, grow up with the internet in the sense that you have to evolve with it. Now we're in our, who knows how old we are. We're so young. And you have to be able to expect it. People tell me every single day on Twitter that I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about, and that because I work for certain places that I'm a piece of shit. Like, this happens every single day. And nobody cries about it more than journalists. They cry about people being mean to them online. teenagers who have to deal with other teenagers insulting them every single day online are probably way more prepared for this world than millennial journalists who cry every single time somebody says something mean to them. So to then go as far as you need to protect your child from Instagram comments, no, you can't just, it's just a form, like it's obviously not censorship, but it's a form of censorship in the sense that you are making it so you don't have to hear any of the noise. And you don't have to look at it, but you should teach your child to say, hey, you can ignore that stuff, or you can read it and then put it down, or you can turn your screen off. Plugging your ears is not the correct way to go, I don't think, Eric.
Well, it's all part of creating the facade, right? It's all part of maintaining the false reality, right? So if you're pretending that your son is your daughter, that's completely fake. So people, bro, Dwayne Wade is an NBA champion. Never once in his career did he think, I could probably switch LeBron for a woman and it would be just the same. Like, he knows the difference between a man and a woman. He knows that's his son. But in order to maintain this false reality, you got to get rid of the comments because people are going to, look, granted, there's going to be a lot of mean stuff out there. We all know that. I do not care for Dwayne Wade. It makes me want to go leave a mean comment on his Instagram right now. But that's the only way that you can maintain this entire thing. And I don't think that you gave Gabrielle, whatever, Gabby Union enough credit for this monstrosity, because she, I think, has a huge role in this as well. That's not even her kid. She came in after. She is this, despicable Hollywood shill who has been in the news for other things. When she was on, I think it was America's Got Talent or something, and she decided that she was going to wear braids, and one of the producers said, hey, maybe that's not the hairstyle for tonight. And of course, she called it racist. So this woman has a history of doing terrible things. And yeah, I think she played a huge role in, I guess, castrating Dwayne himself. Like, who goes through with this? How do you get to the point where you're creating the false reality and you're trying to maintain it on Instagram by removing comments from your child's Instagram? You don't get there without help from somebody else, I believe. And I think and don't get me wrong, Dwayne Wade is he's despicable as well. But I think she's got she's got this sort of Kris Jenner manipulative puppeteer thing that she's doing. That's just my own tinfoil hat theory. And this is, because she probably she needed a little bit more of the limelight too, because like you said, that nobody cares what Dwayne Wade said. He's not Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley's hilarious. As silly as he might be, it's pretty funny every time he comes on the TV. Dwayne Wade doesn't have that personality. Gabrielle Union doesn't really have that personality either. So this is a way for them to, it's kind of like an accessory. It's sort of like a stepping stone to this is our way back into the mainstream media. This is our way to get some eyeballs on the family. And if you recall, last thing here, there was a pretty deep cut. I don't know how much airplay it got, but at one point they did a commercial for the juice, for the Rona juice, and it was like the little kid or whatever, whatever his name is, them's name is. It was like the kid was like calling the shots. It was very in this weird, I guess, oh, my parents are always running behind. I'm gonna get us to this vaccine appointment on time. Let's go, guy. It was just, I hate to use the cringe has become cringe, but there's no better word to describe that ad. And I think this is all tied in together. They can shill pharmaceuticals. They can push this demonic transformer thing, and we will continue to talk about it as well as the mainstream media will let them get a little airtime. I don't know. I don't even know if they have something to promote. Is there a book, or is there a business or something that they actually are trying to make money off of, or is it just parading the kid around for the fact?
Well, they've got a show now.
Okay.
So that was, and now Dwayne Wade's on all these, he's been accepted into the leftism dogma by this sacrifice that he's made. And it sounds harsh, but
how does he not? How do I not even know that the show is there? All I know is about the kid, and you didn't even do a good. Maybe I didn't. I'm not deep enough in, but you didn't do a good enough job even promoting the show, which is what the whole point should have been about.
Well, I don't. Yeah, exactly. That's not the point. The point is to say, hey, this is a prominent black man who's an athlete, who's a strong male, and his son, who, of course, any athlete's child has the potential through access and athletic God-given ability to become that as well. But this is an example of even these people are doing it. So get on board. And then you have to take over all these talking points as well. And you saying that reminds me of the interview that I watched the other day, which was Piers Morgan v. Andrew Tate. And of course, people can hate on Andrew Tate. It's on YouTube. It's an hour long of Piers Morgan making himself look bad. Now, I'm not saying Andrew Tate's looks amazing. You can have, but separate from your opinion of Andrew Tate, Piers Morgan just goes through this entire interview trying to praise the gods of leftism. He says, you went on Alex Jones. Would you like to disavow him? Here's all the things he said that are terrible. Why would you go on his podcast? And he's like, I'll go on anyone's podcast. I go on people who disagree with me all the time podcast. 95% of the people I go on, I disagree with. And he says, oh, would you go on Hitler's podcast? Would you go on Putin's podcast? And then he goes through the gamut of disavow. Last week. It's disavow. All Piers Morgan does. And it makes him sound really bad. He tries to impart the views of somebody he's being interviewed by onto Andrew Tate. He wants him to apologize for everything he's ever said. It's a really sad thing. So when you get to the pillars of progressivism, they will reward you if you follow all the pillars. Dwayne Wade is following the pillars of trans ideology and, far left media sources, just the way Jon Stewart is doing this now. Now, I think Jon Stewart probably has more control over his career than Dwayne Wade has at this point. But the point I'm making is that when you sacrifice your ideologies or you just give them up, you praise the gods of, vaccinations and Fauciisms and transgenderisms, and you disavow Alex Jones and you hate Putin and you're pro-Ukraine. When you start checking off these boxes, that's what the first thing people look at is when they're saying, okay, can we promote this person? Do they say BLM's okay? Do they have a pride flag somewhere? Do they praise Ukraine? Are they okay with transgender people? And if you're in any position or somebody who's hiring people these days, people actually put at the top of their resume, I'm trained in equity, diversion, and inclusion. I am double vaccinated, all this crap. And this is like the precursor. You can't even be accepted into society if you don't pray to the right God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I don't know if irony is the word, but I mean, it is a little strange. It goes without saying. I'm going to state the obvious anyway, that the transformer ideology and the follow the science ideology are 100% at odds with each other if you want to take it realistic. I mean, are you kidding me? There's no way you can square those two.
With each other.
Yeah.
Much of it is at odds with each other. If you want to look at an issue of Palestine, very much left-wing support Palestine. As soon as you go gay or transgender with Palestine, the intersectionality stops there. Those are very at odds with each other. That's a simple one. Yeah. If you're non-Christian, non-white in Ukraine, I mean, most people aren't going to be aware of this, but you can't be gay in Ukraine. You can't be trans in Ukraine. You can't be Muslim in Ukraine. What else do you want to go with? Well, you can't be Russian in Ukraine. Can't be a lot of things in Ukraine.
You can't be trans anywhere because it's not real. But I digress.
But you digress. Don't worry. Let's move on now. We've got another story. I thought my boyfriend of 10 years was going to propose. Then he told me he was trans. That's from The Guardian. And of course, this is going to have, you can see the look of pain in her eyes is evident here, Eric. I consider myself an LGB. I'm no longer adding the T. An LGBTQ plus ally. But I wasn't prepared for the shock and confusion I'd feel when the person I thought I'd spend my life with told me their secret. I'm going to go ahead and predict she set herself up for this by being too progressive. How do you not tell, first of all, that whatever.
After 10 years? 10
years? I'd had a lot to drink. 2 reasons why I'm pressing my boyfriend of 10 years and why he hadn't yet proposed. Yeah, I'd say...
Because even if you're going to go the Christian route and you're not going to have sex or whatever, you'll be celibate and you'll save yourself from marriage, in 10 years, there would have been signs.
We were strong and happy, doubtful, and we loved each other madly, possible. So his reticence seemed ludicrous. You can tell it's a British article. To me, when sober, let alone drunk, I suspect it was my ceaseless questioning that ultimately blew a fuse in his brain, because that's when he told me his secret. When I woke up, he was gone. I watched his WhatsApp status like it was the heart monitor of an ailing relative. The second I saw online, I called him and asked him to come home. To talk. That's weird, that's a new sentence. To answer the question, I'd scribbled illegibly on a half-folded piece of A4 paper. How British is this? We're
Is that just a
defining
regular sheet,
papers?
or is it A?
I don't
I
know.
don't know. Okay.
8.5 by 11, I believe, is the standard piece of paper.
Yeah, that's the standard here. I don't know if it's A4 though. I think maybe probably.
He walked through the door and sat down, his face masked with fear and probably masked with a real mask. What were you trying to tell me? I asked hopefully, all too aware of how different things can look when alcohol is no longer shaping your every thought. I have gender identity issues, he blurted out, probably with a lisp. His eyes fixed on the floor. I just don't identify with being male, he said. My throat thickened. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I knew this person better than anyone in the world, but could in no way reconcile him with the words coming out of his mouth. Let's take a break here for a minute, Eric. Make a prediction. Unauthorizedopinions.com, uopod.com. Let's make a prediction. Does she stay with him or does she leave him? Does she stay and say, I'm progressive, I'm an ally, I should love you no matter what gender you choose to be? Or does she come to her senses and does her womanhood take over and say, I cannot be with a man who is this non-manly?
That is a good question. I am going to say she probably stayed. But I have a question, and maybe this is a silly question. Maybe this is a silly question. Is he's a guy and he just now thinks he's a woman, or he's been a woman this whole time and has been dressing up a dude?
He says I have identity issues and I just don't identify with being male.
So he is a man and is now saying that. So she's not this off. So after 10 years, she has been dating a man, but now his brain has been rotted out of his ears by the propaganda and he thinks he's a woman. It's not that it's been a woman this whole time pretending to be a man.
Correct, in the sense that he was not a woman before.
Okay,
the rest is your opinion, Eric.
So this isn't even it's just this
is how people should super chat their predictions, by the way. We will read super chats on air. Well, what do you identify with? She pleaded panickingly. I don't know, like non-binary or oh my god, what was he about to say? Trans? Say trans. The word flooded my body with surreal disbelief. I was already sure, cold and emphatic, this was done. We were done. But why? He implored. Why are you such a bigot? Basically, because I can't be. I don't want to be with women. It was surprising to me how obvious this fact was because everything else was suddenly underwater. But I don't know how far it will go yet, he said. I don't know anything yet, except that our relationship is more important than my gender. So you must be, no matter what I'd identify as, you have to go along with it, is basically what this is what he's been told. I mean, this is what everybody's been told. My questions were redundant. Their purpose was to establish where we go from here. But in the private theater of my mind, this woman's a great writer, frankly. The curtain, I'm captivated, Eric. The curtain closed at every turn. Soon my sister was outside. I tried to articulate why I asked her to collect me and why I had a suitcase. She knew something was wrong, of course, but she had no idea of the magnitude. He thinks he might be ends. I couldn't get it out of my mouth. What are you trying to say, Phoebes? He thinks he might be trans. We stood on the dark street, cobbles glossed with rain. I just like to stop and point as I say that she is a great writer, how this story of her mental anguish and the fact that it's a very serious situation, your relationship of 10 years is on the rocks with this person that you love and was hoping was going to propose to you.
Cobblestone.
And yeah, and now this is her moment where she's like, this is my time to friggin' shine, everybody. This is a magical moment. It's like I don't know if I ever got you to watch the Juice WRLD's Last 24 Hours documentary. And in it, his girlfriend says that it looked like all of his demons were leaving his body when he died. This is what she said. It was like, at that moment, it looked like all the demons just left his body. And then he died. No, he OD'd, dog, and he died in front of you. There wasn't anything magical about it. He dog OD'd in front of you, dog, and you're talking about how magical it is.
I think I actually did watch that. I got into a weird YouTube binge of like, it started with Tupac, of course, last 24 hours of Tupac's life, and then and then it feeds you all this other stuff. Of course, Juice WRLD was on there. There was like 5 or 6 of them. I think I actually did end up watching that. But
lucid dreams is what she's having.
I'm sorry, bro. I don't like, this isn't even a story, bro. I was a little bit more intrigued when I thought it was a woman pretending to be a dude the whole time, because that's what transgender means. It's just a guy who's just now realizing that his brain doesn't work properly. That's what's happening.
I'm gonna try to find what this culmination of this was, but there's some interesting parts in here. He was so sympathetic when I was on my period. He practically is that because he wished he was having periods? Her response was reassuringly rational. If he was jealous of you, it would have manifested in anger, not kindness. So it looks like they didn't stay together.
All right, I got it wrong. Packing up my stuff.
There she is. She's moving on. I was mad at those who professed to get it because they too had been through a breakup. Anything. This is I'm sorry. This is the most womanly article I've ever read, and it goes on like it's so long. This person's life work into breaking up with a guy who's gender confused. Like it could have been Eric. Like, so I was pressing my boyfriend one day on why he hasn't married me. It's been 10 years. He runs away in the middle of the night. He comes back when he's sober, and I'm like, we're sober now. Tell me what happened. And he said, I think I'm non-binary. She's like, what the hell? And then I broke up with his ass.
That would have been the story. Yeah, but this is what they do. Just like was it last week, the Vox article about don't worry about what happens when you let kids transition. Worry about what happens when you don't let them transition. And it's like 5,000 words of just like weirdo, propaganda. And it's like, dude, you literally could have said that in 200 words, but they won't do it.
But it's all about a performance. There's what's the song? It's by Chandler Crump, the young guy, and I think Tyson James or something. But it starts off with this clip from like 5 years ago where the girl is saying, gender's a performance, and it could be any one of the 71 genders, the New York thing. Jon Stewart, on the other hand, he's diving into the trans stuff, and we're very heavy on trans today. We apologize. UOPod.com. Andrew says, report and opine. Jon Stewart's been battling so many things, and everybody praises him when he's battling for the 9/11 firefighters and policemen's pensions and money for their family. Everybody's for him on that. But then he said there's a whiteness problem in America, and now he's fighting, the good trans fight. Now, granted, he interviews this Arkansas Attorney General, and she doesn't really have any answers for him. But as we were discussing before, Eric, she kind of lets him have the control of the argument, where it's like, Jon Stewart, you're a comedian who is now advocating for, what's the word I'm looking for? Cutting off of the hoo-haws and the ding-dongs of children because you believe that a 10-year-old has a complex understanding of what gender is and how they feel inside, even though they want to be an astronaut one day. When I was a kid, I didn't want to be an astronaut, but I was pretty sure I was going to be a professional athlete of some kind. And if my parents said, AAA hockey team, which is something we have in Canada, even though my son traditionally isn't good enough to be on your team, the government's gonna have to step in here, and you're gonna have to put him on the team no matter what. Or if I was a girl and they said the kid's gotta go on the boys team, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I wanted to. When I was really young. Oh no, let's hear it. Do we have it?
Is there any echo this time?
I think it's good.
Oh, I made the mistake of playing it more than once.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It was my fault.
Why would the state of Arkansas?
Dude, here's the thing, though. This guy, bro, You're 60 years old. I mean, he might be older than, I don't know exactly how old he is, but
I
he's
don't
old.
know.
He doesn't look good. He looks like he's run out of adrenochrome or something. And he's here battling for this agenda. And as this is happening,
I'll get this clip. Go
as
ahead, I'll
this is
get it.
happening, the Vanderbilt University that got, exposed by the Daily Wire and, Matt Walsh and the guys over there, for talking about how much money they can make with top surgery and bottom surgery, 50,000 here, 100,000 there, all this stuff. Of course, you also turn these people into lifetime, clients, lifetime patients or whatever, all the drugs, all the checkups, all the stuff you're going to need when you do this stuff to your body. But so he's here trying to give this smug smackdown of the AG about, he's just, I get it, he's a comedian, but it's like, it's not funny, bro. Like you haven't dropped one punchline. You're just here. And it's what they always do over there on the establishment shill left. They never will really give you a reason. They just kind of do these weird eye rolls. If you can watch them on Instagram all the time, like it'll just be like my face when a Republican says they're for freedom, and they haven't made any points. They're just like, I'm so smug, you're so stupid, like I went to college or whatever stupid so that's what he does. And it's just pretty ironic that while he's pretending that this all makes sense, this butcher shop in Tennessee is like, all right, we're gonna hold off on that because the the government, the feds or whatever, is kind of on our back right now because they can see that we're using this just to make money off we've planted, I don't know, the establishment has planted these seeds of this weirdo brain rot, and then people actually act on it, and now we get $100,000 every time we cut the junk off a teenager.
That's fair.
Going to allow these children to be children.
And
as they are, we want to again encourage them to have the access to the mental health care, because none of us can imagine, whether it's my daughter, your son, any of us can imagine having those conversations.
If my daughter or my son came to me in agony and I knew there was a program that I could get them into that had positive effects on their mental health, I would swim across rivers and climb
I don't think anyone's arguing
mountains
that, Jon Stewart.
and tunnel through whatever I needed to get to save that child's life. And my guess is you'd do the same. And I truly hope you're never faced with that decision, because I imagine it's agonizing for the parent.
Yes.
And it's agonizing for the child. But the fact that you've removed that option for people seems antithetical to the values you profess to espouse.
Very easy to dispute, Eric Butler. They want you to confuse and be confused about what they call gender reaffirming care. Number one, transgender surgery does not make the problems go away. In fact, the suicide rate goes up after transgender surgery. Many studies proven this. Jon Stewart pretends that he's so able to put himself in these shoes. Secondly, nobody's going to deny them help with a therapist or anything. What does happen is they deny them help from a church or a conservative outlet to, say, hey, we know what you're feeling. Same thing with clinics where they try to talk women out of abortion. They're very okay with there being a huge push at even government assistance on one side, but as soon as there's a counterintuitive argument, they're saying, hey, you're taking away our gender affirming care. And then the thing he says about saving people's lives, this isn't a thing. And the fact that they're using a comedian, like you said, to do this is not what a real comedian does. A real comedian does not go on a crusade to take one side or the other. A comedian says, hey, you know what? This side might be crazy. That side might be crazy. It's my job to try to tell the truth and make light of the situation and be funny. You don't see, Joe Rogan doesn't go and he doesn't interview Stacey Abrams on something serious like this, and say, you must do abortion this way, you must do it that way. He has his opinions, but Shane Gillis doesn't go as his Trump impression and say you have to be anti-abortion. Like, this is not like the crusade that Jon Stewart goes on is very left wing, whether he wants to believe it or not. And I'm sure in his mind, him and John Oliver think that they're, doing the MTV thing where like this is the only point of view that exists and you're crazy to not believe it. I give him credit for talking with this woman.
They know. These are 60-year-old men. They know exactly what's going on. It's absolutely evil. And they always like to use this we're saving lives. It's saving lives. No, it's not, bro. What you've done is you butchered up a child, and this is the next logical step to what Dwayne Wayne did, right? He's created the false reality for his son or daughter, or they, them, or whatever, and then eliminated the comments to protect them. And that's like, that's the thing. So the next step is to, well, if you don't agree, then they're going to commit suicide. That's just the next thing.
These are the talking points, and they keep hammering them home until they become reality for a certain sect of people. Is if you don't use the proper pronoun, you're killing people, bro. This is dangerous. When Matt Walsh is doing this speech and these protesters are, you're putting us in danger by being here. It's communist speak. Your literal words are danger, and there's nothing but no way around it other than we have to shut it down. That's what Jon Stewart's talking points are coming from. If you oppose us in any way, you're putting people's lives in danger. And who would want to put children's lives in danger? If you don't make a penis out of their vagina, you're putting their life in danger. And then they say, it's completely reversible and you can go back. No, you can't go back from becoming, what's the thing, Tucker Carl?
A eunuch.
Becoming a eunuch. You can't go back from chemical castration is what I'm going for. You can't come back from that. It's just not how it works. And they say this because they don't care if they're lying. Like it's taqiyya in Islam. You're allowed to lie to further the jihad. That's what they're doing, is they allow themselves to lie to further their cause. It's what BLM does. It's what Antifa does. It's what the transgender movement, as in the people who co-opted, however you want to quantify it, of how many people it is. It's what their, agenda does. It's they go forward by any means necessary. The ends justify the means. And Jon Stewart, whether he realizes it or not, says these buzz things like it's going to save their lives and you're taking away their care. Jon Stewart probably hasn't looked into what the people who are telling him are talking about when they say we're offering care to these children. What they're saying is, hey kid, come in here. Do you feel a little bit like a boy today? Yeah, okay, let's sign you up for these hormone treatments. Let's sign you up for this surgery. My buddy's a great surgeon down in Tennessee. He's going to hook you up with a great surgeon. My buddy in Washington is going to help you get in touch with these pharmaceutical companies. They've got great drugs. And then my buddy who's also a therapist, he's going to hook you up and he's a great therapist. And, 3 people are going to get paid and so am I. On the other hand, which I'm sure exists too, I've got a great person who works at a church who's going to get government funding for his church and their suicide prevention center. And I've got a great guy who's going to, tell you that your feelings don't mean anything and you can turn to Christ, and he's a great guy too. And that's what it's going to be on all sides because they want to all pretend that they care so much. How about if the kid takes it to a certain degree, you take him to a therapist, and that's going to be 1% of the time, if not less. I want to ask Jon Stewart, how many when he was growing up in elementary school, or what you guys call grade school, I guess, and high school, how many kids did he know or be friends with or even hear about were questioning their gender? How many kids in his high school? My high school was about 1,300 people. How many children in my school did I hear about questioning their gender or any rumors, whether they be nice or mean, any rumors about that guy doesn't know what gender he is? Oh my God, she thinks she's a boy. Oh my God, he thinks he's a girl. 0. How many people were even rumored to be gay at your high school? 5? Less than 10, probably for sure, that weren't out as gay people. So the number of people that is, the number of people who've come out as trans in the last 5 years, there was a study at a school in England where it's 300% increase year over year. It's insane. So Jon Stewart needs to, stop thinking that every idea that's new is progressive and it's great and it's just the way the country's going. And you're right, a 60-year-old man shouldn't be such a dumbass. Okay.
Yeah. And and that, I mean, you basically made the point I was going to say. It's like, dude, yeah, Jon Stewart's older than us, right? So it didn't happen when he was in school. It didn't happen when I was in school, right? Like when I was in high school, there was like, and it was a much smaller school. It was probably just over 100 kids in each class. So we're talking maybe 500 kids total, right? In the high school, 4 grades. And you had like, at least in my grade, you had like, the 2 kids that were like, yeah, those guys, they're like a little fruity, I guess is what we used to say. And then there was one girl that we thought, might be a lesbian. And I don't know, who knows now? It was it was so long ago. But this happened like 6 years ago, bro. This happened like, this is the Twitter age. Like this is not, you guys are making these completely permanent, life-changing, life-altering decisions based on a Twitter trend from 6 years ago. This is not real. It doesn't go back. Oh, everybody wants to talk about, two spirits and biblical stuff. Man, no, you're lying to yourself. You're creating, like I said, this completely false reality. And they will always, it's everything, every single thing with this weird agenda, with this weird establishment, it's always life and death, right? If you didn't want to wear a mask, you were killing people. If you didn't want to get a shot, you were killing people. If you want to drive a truck, you're killing people. Climate change is going to get us in 12 years. If you don't let the kids chop their privates off or mangle their bodies, then you're killing them. It's always life and death with these people. It's never something that you can just say, hey, you know what? Let's sit down and really talk about this and maybe get them off TikTok. You know what I mean? Like that's all that really needs to happen. We've created this entirely, this absolute, it's a complete charade. It's a complete facade. And when you hear videos like the one that Matt Walsh, unearthed, I guess I probably should have sent it to you, but you literally hear the woman say something along the lines of, it's about $40,000 for top surgery and $100,000 for bottom surgery. And there's another clip going around, or another photo going around, of this person's arm. And it looks like, I mean, it's just been, they've like shaved all the muscle and fat and tissue off the arm to create a fake penis. And now, of course, obviously, everybody knows, any scientist, any doctor on the planet is going to tell you that a penis made out of arm tissue is not going to work. And now, not only does the penis not work, which is obvious, your arm doesn't work either. And this is what they're selling to kids. And anybody who speaks out against it is basically akin to extremist, a murderer. I mean, how mean are you going to possibly be? And it's just like, dude, leave me alone. If you really want to mutilate your kids and you really want to press this stuff, fine. It's just like abortion. If you really, in your heart of hearts, really feel like I'm okay with killing my child, fine, you do it. But keep it over there, bro. Stop trying to pitch it to us. I'm not buying it. Stop selling it. We don't want it. Keep it on your side. If it's so good, keep it all for yourself and stop trying to spread it. But that's not how it is. They can't do this. It used to be live and let live. Now it's live and obey every single weirdo command that I have.
In the UK, young people referred for gender treatment has increased from 97 total in 2009 to 2,510 in 2017-2018, a 4,000% increase in 10 years. I'd imagine by now it is even higher.
Yep, and that's exactly, because I was in college back then. And it wasn't a thing. In San Francisco, I can't stress this enough. I went to college in San Francisco, where this madness comes from, and it didn't even exist. There was a drag. Like, I knew some girls that would go like for their birthday or whatever to like, It was a place called Asia SF, and it was a performance. So it was like guys dressed up like women would serve you food. I will be honest, I never actually went in. Even back then, when I was not political at all. I wasn't political at all. I didn't know what was going on. I think the governor was still, Arnie was governor, and I was just like, because I got the invite, I was like, why would I want to go to that? Like, and it wasn't
the argument used to be with girls was, why do you want to go see that? And they're just like, oh, it's just guys dressing up, it's fun. And it's like, you're going to watch like gay guys pretend to be a caricature of women, and it's like, all right, I guess if you want to do that. Like, wouldn't we all yearn for the day where it's just a bunch of drunk girls going to watch drag queens, and they thought it's not sexual, what are you talking about? That was the argument. It's like, okay, it's not sexual, it's guys who are like, you don't know the mind of a guy when this so far is gone, but fine, you want to be weird and stuff. But now it's, what do you mean you don't want to bring your kids to watch a man be topless with silicone breasts and celebrate it, do the splits, show his ass crack, and have a 4-year-old stuff bills into his underwear. What do you mean you don't like that? What do you mean?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
And they get completely exposed. They get or not like they get exposed. Like when this woman, I'm sure you probably saw the woman. I forget what city it was in, but she wore the exact same outfit as one of the drag queens, and they're like, "This is inappropriate," which is proving my point that it doesn't happen in a straight way. Even if it's a woman who's maybe 40 years old, actually looks pretty good, like she's wearing this weird little unitard or whatever. It's like we've definitely seen worse things out there. Shout out to Lizzo, but that's inappropriate when this woman comes on dressed in the exact same outfit that a dude was wearing and you guys clap like seals. So you're exposing yourselves, literally and figuratively.
Moving on over to PayPal, unauthorizedopinions.com, report and opine on Instagram. Andrew says TV on Twitter. Andrew does on Instagram. My show's being revamped, Eric, so it's going to be a nice studio. I'm going to have different segments. It's going to be fun. Ian Miles Chung blew up again for his tweets about PayPal, who said they were going to fine people for promoting misinformation. They are now saying it was said in error. So PayPal wanted to do a little bit of a, what's it called, a Patreon move where they say, if we don't like you, we're going to take you off. But PayPal's not going to kick you off, Eric. They're just going to take $2,500 per misinformation you put out. But they're now walking that back and saying it was said in error. It's interesting how that happens when like hundreds of thousands of people say that they won't use you anymore. They have the easiest job in the game, Eric. It was done on South Park. They literally sit there and use other people's software to process payments. Stripe is one of them, credit card processors, and they collect a fee. You sit there and you collect a fee for letting people transfer money through you. Oh my goodness, your job is so hard. A new user agreement from PayPal threatens to fine users up to $2,500. I'll make this bigger for people watching on uopod.com. If they use the service to promote misinformation, they said it was sent out, quote, in error, the PayPal spokesperson tells Fox Business. The updated acceptable use policy effective November 3rd included an expansion of prohibited activities, which includes the ending, posting, or publication of messages, contents, or materials that meet certain criteria. So if somebody posts something that disagrees with the machine, they'll have their own Facebook fact checkers or something to that regard. Say, hey, you said something we don't like, so we can fine you. According to the updated user agreement, the company states that each violation could result in liquidated damages of $2,500. Who are you damaging? So they're saying that because you're just damaging society at large, we PayPal deserve your money.
And where does the money go?
You know that was somebody's like great idea, right? In their department, probably their marketing department, some equity and inclusion person who say, you know what, we have to do something. PayPal will be the ones. We're going to be the ones, Eric. We're going to be the ones to stand up and fight for what's right. You notice how the voice changed there? And stand up and fight for what's right. And we're going to do something, people. We're going to hit them in their pocketbooks where it hurts. Every time they say the vaccine doesn't work, that's not me, that's them saying it. Every time they're saying Putin isn't a monster and the Ukrainian people don't have neo-Nazis, we're going to fine them $2,500. And we deserve it. We're the ones stopping them from spreading hate, okay? We deserve it.
We're going to force them to go see Bros. They didn't go see Bros. We're going to charge them.
Yeah. You said this movie sucks. That's $2,500. You may not use PayPal service for activities that involve the sending, posting, publication of any messages, contents, or materials in PayPal's sole discretion promote misinformation. So literally they decide that you're promoting misinformation no matter how they decide it.
And it's weird to
the word steal your money.
The word promote though is weird to me. Like, you mean they just said something that that somebody said something that PayPal doesn't like, or what? I mean, promote it? Like what? Like I don't understand.
Send, post, or publish any messages, content, or materials. If you get caught emailing somebody from something from InfoWars, they're taking your money. They're stealing your money. If you get caught posting on Facebook something from Fox News, we're stealing your money. If you publish any messages or content, if you message somebody a link from Paul Joseph Watson's website, we're stealing your money. because that's misinformation. You're promoting it. You're promoting it in your private WhatsApp message. However, when contacted by Fox Business, a PayPal spokesperson said that the acceptable use policy went out in error and that company will not fine users for misinformation. So the classic, we printed it, we leaked it to see if people would accept it. So now we got to walk it back and do that over a longer period of time. That's what that means, Eric.
Yeah, and we're
in the process of updating it. We're just in the process.
Venmo, right? They're Venmo or they Cash App, or maybe not both, right?
I have no idea. We don't have such abundancies of choice in Canada. I've never used Venmo. I've never used Cash App. You think that we're just using choices here, Eric? We got Pepsi, we got Coke. All right, Eric, that's all we got here. We got Taco Bell, McDonald's, Burger King. You greedy piece of
Tim Hortons.
Think we got multiple cash transfer things here, Eric?
Zelle,
Nobody's ever even heard of Venmo.
You gotta have Zelle, right? Zelle, Cash.
What's Zelle? We've got Uber Eats, we've got DoorDash, we've got Skip the Dishes. We don't have Postmates, Eric. What do you think this is?
You guys have Dunkin' Donuts, though, right?
Probably like one in Toronto. There's no Dunkin' Donuts where I live.
Dude, those things are
how
on.
How long it took us to get Chick-fil-A? Like 2 years ago.
Dunkin' Donuts are like on every corner in Brooklyn.
That's
bro.
Tim Hortons here. We got Tim Hortons, which is now owned by the Burger King Corporation, so we don't even have Tim Hortons anymore.
But yeah, so I was a little bit confused because that Fox Business article, it said in error, but then when you read it, it
wasn't an error. That's what they said. They put out a new terms of policies. People didn't like it. They're like, oh, it was an error.
Okay.
Well, that'd be like me going out in the street punching a guy in the face. Did you punch a guy in the face? Yeah, but it was an error.
Exactly.
So you can't condemn me for that. It was an error. I never meant to punch the guy in the face. It just sort of happened. The evidence of me punching the guy in the face just got leaked out. We're sorry.
And they had I think Candace, even right now, is still going hard on PayPal. Like I was watching her story and she was like, granted, I guess it was Ian. How did he get that info? Was he just sleuthing through the PayPal?
He's already been banned from PayPal, so he's probably got what's the word? A bone to pick. Like 6 months ago or more, yeah. Guy who writes stories.
Wow.
Guy who writes stories for many websites and occasionally posts a video and appears on podcasts. It's not like he's running
but I mean, his
Rebel News or any of these websites, like he's just a writer.
Yeah,
and no, you can't be getting paid through us.
But what's his? What's his most radical take? Like you could again, I still think that we haven't had a guest in a while, but I think the most radical guest we've ever had is Bryson, and that's because he reads the Bible. It's like, what's his most radical take?
Ian's pretty like standard. I feel like it's just because he's got a large reach. I don't know, because I disagree with him on some things, and then I agree with him on a lot of things. He's a very nice guy, first of all. I love when he smokes cigarettes on camera. That's the funniest thing.
Okay. I didn't know if he said like, oh, well, I'm not even going to say anything because then we'll get kicked off. But
no, and he's got a big platform, so he knows what the rules are, and he's very smart about that. But in terms of his actual opinions, you will find millions of other people who agree with him. That's why he's got, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people following him on Twitter, and he's got a Substack, and he writes for multiple websites. I don't know. Speaking of Ian, by the way, I'll give him a shout out because there was always this story that loser YouTube, and I hate YouTube videos that are about one person exposing so-and-so, exposing Eric Butler for who he really is. Mm-hmm. I hate him, but let me spend hours looking into him and spending this much time on him. But some guy said that he had a dog killed by swatting somebody, and recently the guy came out and said that that wasn't true. The guy who made the original claim. So that's it's a fun piece of PayPal should take this guy's money. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this because people on YouTube are lame and losers, as we say on YouTube. But you know what I mean? YouTuber beef. There's nothing will make me turn off something quicker than YouTuber beef. This guy made a 20-minute video about this guy. It's like get a life. Like create something that like is entertaining, not like taking down if Steve will do it. And did you know that Steve and Nelk gamble and the companies give the money to gamble with? and they're promoting gambling. Yeah, obviously they're promoting gambling. I don't know. Free Steve will do it. Anyways, a gun buyback in New York. Eric Butler tried to bring his guns back, and he got rejected because he tried water guns, but that didn't happen. Nobody fact checked that. Man claims he got 21 grand from New York gun buyback with plastic junk, brought 110 3D printed firearms. Now in Canada, the Toronto police force posts pictures of the guns they confiscate and they think they're amazing. Sometimes they're airsoft guns. Sometimes they're rusted out guns that probably got shipped through a tank full of water. It's pathetic. And so, and then you interview people, and they have no idea what they're talking about guns. Nobody who wants to ban guns knows what they're talking about. So I'm guessing it's the people who volunteered for this gun buyback day are just like, yeah, whatever. Or they're cops that don't agree with it. So they probably don't know what a real gun looks like. A man identifying himself as Kem, which is cool, claims he got $21,000 in $500 gift cards by bringing 110 3D printed frames and receivers to a Utica, New York gun buyback, which was sponsored by New York Attorney General Letitia James's office. Now, I'm guessing he's avoiding some sort of crime by printing frames and receivers.
Well, nobody, they didn't ask, oh, hey, I mean, how many times did you go back? Do you have to give your name? Do you have to give your address? Maybe the article will tell us. I don't know, but like somebody should have rang the bell after like the third visit.
Kem told them that he had no firearms. He spent the rest of the day negotiating.
He had 110 firearms. You said no, but he said he had 110.
Oh, sorry. That after Kem told them he had 110 firearms, he spent the rest of the day negotiating with the AG staff for how much the payment of the 3D printed parts would be. So he's out here printing stuff for probably, I mean, it's like when somebody would burn you a CD in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, I got to pay for a CD burner, dog. I can't just give you this for the price of the disc. I got to pay towards the next CD burner. So he's pricing in, the ink that he's using, the plastic, and the price of a 3D printer, which is a few grand. He's haggling with them. Hey, man, I brought you, here's a picture of one. I mean, I don't like it's got a gear in the middle and an action here, and a trigger. Does it look like you're gonna fire anything of that size through that? No, but gun buybacks are a fantastic way of showing, number one, that your policies don't work, and number two, you're creating perverse demand. You're causing people to show up for these events, and they don't actually reduce crime whatsoever. They said in a statement in response to his windfall payout, it's shameful that this individual exploited a program that has successfully taken thousands of guns off the streets to protect our communities from gun violence. Or has it just had people steal guns and bring them to you for money?
That's something that you just can't prove, and they just say that because they know you can't fact check that. Like, well, I'm in the department. Like, where are you gonna get? You can't. It was just like with the Rona stats. It was like, dude, you guys are just spewing numbers that nobody can fact check. Like, where do you even go? Who are you going to ask?
If I'm a criminal and it's a really hard time for me, I have a bunch of stolen guns, and it's always hard for me to find somebody to buy guns off of me that's not going to rob me, not going to shoot me, and do it in such a shady way that the police are going to find out. If I'm that criminal, then why don't I just take all these guns that I've stolen? I've got a buyer for this stuff now, a legal buyer. I don't have to give them any information. They're just going to hand me cash for guns. I could bring in, theoretically, if you brought in 121 guns, 110 guns at 21 grand, and they're all the shittiest little guns you can find, then you got yourself, what's 21 divided by 110? 21,000. I don't know. Do you?
I don't know. That's math stuff. That's beyond me.
Is that a racial remark, Eric Butler?
If you want to make it one, I guess it could be.
Are you making fun of me for being Asian?
This guy,
$190 per gun is pretty low.
Yeah,
I'd have to imagine a pistol will cost you more than that, but I don't know. Kem's got something going here. He should just go to all the states. He should fly to Australia, bring his 3D printer with him. I'm not promoting criminality here. I'm promoting getting guns off the streets.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just how stupid, like how, and look, I go back and forth. We always talk about this. Is it stupidity or is it malice? And this one, I think, is is just stupidity. They don't know what's going on. They don't know. It's like the higher ups, the Cuomos, the Hochuls, who, for the record, I mean, Kathy Hochul, whatever her name is, she is just on an absolute tear. Dude, anybody who's followed my content for a while knows that I can't stand Andrew Cuomo. He literally ruined my life. But Hochul is just, I mean, this woman is on another level, and it was to be expected. I remember even when Cuomo left, I was like,
a new level.
It's when they got rid of Cuomo, it was so obvious that it wasn't gonna go, towards sanity, right? They weren't gonna get rid of Cuomo and like put in like a moderate or somebody who's gonna like maybe clean up New York. No, it was always planned to go even to a more extreme, weird feminist direction. But the point is, she's evil. Her lieutenant governor, who's taken down on taking bribes, they're all evil. Pelosi, Biden, and that's all evil stuff. But these NYPD officers is just like, it's like something out of a Simpsons episode. Like, SpaghettiOs. Like, what are you guys doing?
Police cops.
Exactly, dude. It's a joke, and that's why the crime is through the roof.
Homer Simpson.
That's why the crime is through the roof, is because the people at the top are evil and the people below them are stupid, and this is what we get.
Fair enough. We should close out here on authorizedopinions.com, uopod.com, Spotify, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, uopod.com. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our Patreon if you haven't already. Subscribe to Eric on Instagram, Report and Opine. Me, I'm Andrew Does. And on Twitter, follow us. Before we go, some Russian propaganda for you, Eric. It just keeps happening. Nothing to see here, says Raheem Kassam. I said it's Russian propaganda because I think it's unbelievable that you would claim this. Simply unbelievable. This is the Ukraine's head of armed forces. He is, he's posting a cool pixelated picture of him. And then what do you know on his wrist? It's a swastika, everybody. He tweeted out on his own profile. You can still see it. He's going to delete it, I'm sure. And then they're going to say, hey, this was photoshopped. But just the head of the armed forces, tweeting out on his own verified Twitter account a bracelet with swastikas on it. So I said it's Russian propaganda. I love the comment that believe me and say, oh, it's always propaganda, isn't it? And then I love the accounts that say, oh, what are you, a Russian propagandist? There's no winning, and I accept that, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, dude, these guys.
Anything else, Eric?
I stand with Ukraine.
It's all over but the crying.
Yeah,
are you going to any Arizona Cardinals games?
Well, no, we did one. No, I didn't even go to one. We just went to the tailgate, which was actually pretty epic. Those people really, this one guy.
Those people, you're
NFL fans, football fans. I mean, one of these guys had like 6 TVs. Actually, dude, I think he actually had 9 TV. I mean, how many games come on at one time?
For the purpose of what? Oh, to watch them all?
Yeah, to watch them all. And we got some good food. They gave us some, little tacos they were making. But yeah, I don't know. I was always more of a basketball fan, so maybe when the Phoenix Suns are in absolute shambles right now. I don't know if you know about that, but they're not looking too good for them right now.
You should be supporting the Phoenix Mercury, actually.
Oh yeah, I stand with Brittany. I stand with Brittany. I stand with Ukraine. Just sign me up, dude. I'm doing all of it. All the current things, I'm in. I'm all in.
Arrivederci, uopod.com.
Turn it up, Jordan.